So morning all, back out with RB this morning and riding this LXR in black and gold, another one, 125 and the Euro 5 model. We've done quite a few rides on these. The LXRs and the LXSs are all coming out now, and just check how good that looks all in that black and gold. Absolutely beautiful bike. So we're going to get this one out into traffic and we're going to do the obligatory ride test at 45 mile an hour. Currently got a mile on it. So we're going to get this one out, we're going to have a run and crank up those miles at 45 mile an hour. And this one's going out to the customer in about the next week or so. And just working through the box, just get up to the top gear and then we get the revs on. But absolutely lovely bike, this one. This is about the second or third one that I've ridden on the LXS range for the Euro 5s. A little bit higher in the seat, obviously, than the LXS. So this LXR 820 in the seat. Pegs slightly back and a great view off those mirrors. Those mirrors are absolutely spot on. And obviously these have gone up in price from the old LXRs. But are they worth the extra money? Hell yes. So if you're looking at getting an LXR, LXS, and we've got two SEs in now as well, and obviously all the prices of the Euro 5s have all gone up. A simple reason being catalytic converters, new emission controls, and obviously you're paying a little bit more for that cat in it and the Euro 5 compliancy. And just to let you know, obviously the Titan scooters are back. Now they have obviously gone up quite a bit of money, but are they still worth it? Absolutely yes, for a mid-range scooter, 125cc. And it's not just the Lexmoto range that's gone up in price. If you actually look at all the prices of bikes, whether it's new or used, everything is increasing at the moment due to obviously importing, COVID. Everybody wants to get out on a motorcycle at the moment. But for the extra few £100 that you put into one of these, you're not going to go far wrong. It's still a lot cheaper than some of the bikes that are out there. And I was looking at bike prices last night and they have gone absolutely astronomical at the moment. So this is very, very good price for the money. So we're going to crank up as many miles as we can on this one, get loads of ride tests in as we normally do. And obviously dual carriageway is the quickest way to get the mileage up. Now obviously I tend to watch my mirrors a lot when I'm on the dual carriageway, and people go, oh yeah, but you're riding at 40 mile an hour. I am not allowed to go any faster for running in purposes. So 41 to 45, just varying the throttle response, currently sitting about 41, 43, and then ease it back. So I tend to alter my rev ranges slightly, drop my speed down and then bring it back up again, just so I'm not sitting at one steady speed, which is what you should be doing when you're running in a new bike. Now a lot of people are still asking, what is the running in on these? So 311 miles at 40 to 45 mile an hour service. Then you can take the bike up to 50, around about 55. That'll take you up to 932 miles, which is 1500k. Get your second service in and then you are good to go. Once you've done that, obviously still take it easy on the bike. You don't want to be ragging it around like you've stolen it, but crank that mileage up. First service comes around very, very quickly. Second one normally takes you about a month or so, a couple of months, if depending on the mileage that you're doing backwards and forwards to work. And then obviously people say, why do you always ride on the inside? I tend to either occupy position 1 if I'm on a dual carriageway, lets the cars get behind you, or if I happen to be around town at the 30, I tend to occupy position 3, which is out towards the centre line. Simple reason being, stops anyone sneaking down the outside of you on single roads and brushing against your shoulders, or obviously giving you a little bit of a scare. and I never normally ride position 2. And you can see from this dual carriageway, if you just look at where position 2 is, dead centre in the road, look at all that dirt, oil and grease that is down. You can see the track line for absolutely ages. That's where the car tyres don't sit, and all that dirt, gravel, oil, anything that drops off a car from underneath is going to accumulate down the centre of the road. Hence why I tend not to ride position 2. So normally position 1 or position 3. And then obviously coming up to junctions, I do alter my position around a bit so that I'm not sat dead behind a vehicle. Simple reason being, if he can't see you in the mirrors, he's not going to know you're there. So what I tend to do is either occupy position 1 or sit right to the outside on position 3 like I'm doing here. So car driver can see me in his mirrors, and then if a car does come in a little bit fast, I've got an escape route down the outside watching my mirrors, and it's only the car that's going to get bumped. I am not going to become that sandwich between two cars. So always be aware of your situations. Coming up to junctions, watch for the side of a car. Is that car going to pull out like that one has? So obviously physically aware of where he is going. And he's decided to scoot up the inside, but that car's just about to come across. So that is what we're on about, being visually aware and keep an eye on your surroundings. And obviously leaving yourself a decent space cushion from the vehicle in front. So should he hit the reverse by accident, I see him coming back, I've still got my escape route down the outside, or if I was in the centre in position 1, I've got an escape route down the middle to filter out of the way. So a couple of little tips there for you. And obviously shoulder checks are a must. So keep an eye on your shoulders, make sure you've got nothing behind you when you're coming into junctions or going around corners. Always do those shoulder checks. Make sure that you are aware of what is up the inside, what is coming down the outside of you. And that should keep you safe, hopefully, they say. So 4.3 miles on the bike. Cranking up the mileage nicely. Getting the shoulder checks in and moved back to my lane to come in and back onto the dual carriageway. And obviously the LXRs has the analog rev counter down the centre. You've got your digital dash off down to the bottom right, and then all your lights that you need are off on that left hand panel there. It's a lovely sunny day today, and these tyres are nicely warm. And that was the other subject that was brought up in one of my Q&As. What are the tyres like on the Lexmoto bikes? I tend to have no issues with them on a dry day. Yes, they can be a little bit skittish on a wet day, but you should be adjusting your riding to the conditions that you are riding in. So if it is a wet day, you're not going to be hammering it around and throwing the bike around like you would on a dry day. Taking it nice and easy. And don't forget, with new tyres, you've got to scrub them in. So if you are obviously on fresh rubber, give it about 50 miles for those tyres to scrub themselves in, get a bit of dirt on the tyres and get them used to the road, let them wear in a bit. You're not going to corner on new rubber like you do on old rubber. Obviously we took a couple of bikes out yesterday, a couple of used ones. We took out the Triumph Speed Street Triple 675, and we took out the R1. The tyres on those, absolutely perfect. And the Michelin 2CTs on the Street Triple, and I had the Diablos on the R1, and both those bikes cornered like they were on rails because the tyres were well scrubbed and the chicken strips used as well. And it's obviously not about getting the bike over as far as you can, it is getting round a corner safely and adjusting yourself to the situations again. And we always say, if you are cornering, and the big thing with new riders at the moment is target fixation. If you're coming up to a corner, don't be looking at the corner, So for instance, if I was coming up to a right hand corner, I'd be looking over there through the apex of the corner, and obviously if you can see far into the distance and the distance starts getting further, you know that the corner is starting to straighten out. If you start losing your corner while you're looking through, that means that that corner is tightening up and getting sharper, so you should be either adjusting your speed, covering your brakes, or getting some counter steer on. And that is one thing that we're going to be covering on one of my videos: cornering on a motorcycle, counter steering, leaning the bike, power, and how to brake going into corners. Now I tend to do a lot of a thing called trail braking, which is very, very naughty to do on the road. You shouldn't be touching your brakes going into a corner or around a roundabout. You should be adjusting your speed so you actually go into that corner or into that roundabout at the correct speed. Now I tend to come in, especially if I'm on the big bike, especially my one, I tend to come in quite hot, loads and loads of braking going into that corner, and then as I ease off on the brake, I'm adjusting the power and laying the power on the back wheel. But that is a thing called trail braking, and it's not something that you can just do straight off. It has to be learned. And yes, you are going to get it wrong the first couple of times. You're going to come in too hot, trail brake, and wash your front end out and end up sliding, either low siding or high siding. So it's one of those, if you do want to sort of learn all those tricks, then the best thing to do is to have a chat with your CBT school and ask them if you can do some extra lessons, do some advanced lessons, things like trail braking, manoeuvring the bike, getting it round the corners a bit quicker, even the low speed handling. It's something that comes with experience. It's not just going to come straight off the cuff and you're going to be, I can ride absolutely perfect. No one rides absolutely perfect. And I've been doing this nearly 50 years now. Obviously I started at a very early age, and I still learn new stuff every day. I pick up some new hints and tips, obviously from my CBT guy that I go out and ride with a couple of times a year and get an assessment. And the first thing he always says to me, get off your front brake going into the corner. He picks up on my trail braking all the time. Get off your brakes, get off your brakes. And I have to relearn everything because I bring some very, very bad track habits out on public roads. So it is worth, for the 120 quid it costs you for that hour, to get out, do a little bit of extra training, and there is a lot that you can learn in an hour, especially low speed manoeuvring, balancing the bike. You should be able to balance your bike at around about 3 miles an hour and just keep a nice steady line, and that's just by holding it on the back brake, clutch control, feathering the clutch, but it can all be picked up with an advanced rider. And there's some great courses out at the moment. One of my friends has just gone and done one, and the local police actually do a ride out, so you can go and join the local police officers on their bikes and have a spirited ride with them, and they will teach you a lot of stuff, and you're all centered up, intercommed up, and they will talk to you and tell you exactly what you're doing wrong, your lane positioning, shoulder checking before you're coming off at junctions, and they will look after you. So it is worth that little bit of investment just to get yourself out and do that little bit of extra training. And it's worth a godsend. That bit of training could one day save your life, especially coming in and learning hard braking if you need to stop in an emergency. Now, not all bikes have got ABS. If you're too heavy on the front brake, you will find that you'll either lock the front end up and slide it, or you'll end up putting yourself over the top of the bike because you brake so hard that you've unseated yourself. But we're currently 8 and a bit miles in. Final bit of ride test mileage to do. And a lot more bikes to test ride this morning. Oh, cancel the indicators and hit the horn. Fat fingers. But this gearbox on this LXR, absolutely faultless. Lovely and smooth. I am going to ask my technician just to adjust the clutch slightly, because it is a little bit far out from me. It's biting about 1.5 to 2 inches out when it should be literally off the bar. So I'm going to get him to adjust that slightly. But obviously it's not something that's going to be picked up until you ride test. It's great being in a workshop and just adjusting the clutch bite point while it's on a bike ram. But it's not till you actually get out in traffic and you're actually riding the bike, you get to pick up on certain things. As I say, car driver's a little bit close, but I have them all in my mirror. I'm constantly watching the one that's about 50 yards back at the moment, and he's shifted to the outside lane. So that's what mirrors are for, but you should also be shoulder checking all the junctions. And a great thing to do, obviously coming up to a junction, watch for sides of cars. Has that car driver acknowledge that you are there, covering the brakes and making sure that everything is all good. Should you need to pull down, then grab a handful of front brake. Now I tend to ride normally with my hand there holding the throttle. I don't tend to reach for the front brake. A lot of riders ride like this with just the one finger out, just to cover that front brake. But I do tend to ride with my left hand covering the clutch lever. So should I need to downshift, I can get some engine braking on instantly, like I've just done. And filter up the inside. And then obviously checking the vehicles behind, adjusting my position and watching over my shoulder. So we're going to go into town, get a bit of urban mileage on now. Final couple of miles. And the bike is all good to go. Final test ride on the day of handover. Add a couple of miles on it, just a quick one round the block before we phone the customer and say, yep, come and get your bike. So we've currently got about 16 LXRs, LXSs coming to us shortly. I think our next delivery is going to be mid-June. We do have Titans on the way. Diablos have been released as well in 125 and 50, as well as the Echoes. Now obviously them electric bikes are selling like the proverbial hotcake. I've got 2 Cyphers to ride again today and a Yadia G5. So we're going to get out and get some mileage on the Yadia and crank up some miles on that one. The job is a good one. Heading back to the garage in a few for that obligatory cup of coffee and an early morning cigarette. Disgusting habit. And obviously just to remind you, all the bikes can be found on the website, which is Eclipse Motorcycles, mk.co.uk. The link is down the bottom right hand side with the phone number, which is 01908 643 603. And that suspension is just soaking up those potholes and bumps, as you would expect it to. Absolutely spot on. As always, if you enjoyed the video, hit the thumbs up. Comments down the bottom, let me know what you think of the LXRs, the LXSs. Obviously the price increase, do you consider that they are worth the money? Have you got one? Are you enjoying it? Have you found any issues with your bike yet? Obviously we take around about 2 to 3 weeks to prep one of these. A lot of dealers are turning these out in 2 or 3 days, and that's great if you've got a huge great garage, load of mechanics that can get the test mileage on. But some people have said, oh, you know, I got my bike today, got a mile on the clock, and it's not going to be enough to ride test it and make sure you've got no issues with the bike. So I'd always say make sure you get some decent test mileage on the bike. We do obviously have huge great PDI and QC, but then do remember that these are new bikes. Everything needs to bed in on them, and that will include bolt checking as well. So make sure that you do check all your bolts, because things will still, even though they've been tightened fully, rattle loose. Yes, you do get the occasional nut or bolt that decides it doesn't want to stay in place, and that is where Lexmoto warranty comes in. You got an issue, that Lexmoto warranty is going to kick in and back you up on that. But even running around town on this, absolutely beautiful. So last bit of around town mileage. We're going to go round the block on this one, through the town. And for all of you just said you've just gone the wrong side of the road, no, that is a one-way street. It's a left or a right on that, so I didn't go wrong side of the road. So the roads down here are a little bit weird, because it used to be both ways down in the town. It's now one direction in a big circle, which has caused a nightmare for everybody. But this bike is handling absolutely perfectly. Don't forget, if you do enjoy the videos, notifications bell, click that, that will tell you when the next video is coming up. And with the YouTube channel now, we are doing YouTube membership, which gives you obviously the perks of following the channel. You get mentioned on the end credits of every video. If you go for the next one up, you get yourself a sticker. Next one up, you get yourself a t-shirt, plus all the perks again, and obviously invites to RB if you want to come out with some ride outs, if you happen to live local to Milton Keynes. Now we are running up to Super Sausage this Sunday again for the obligatory bacon and sausage roll, and the boss of the garage, Phil, is joining me. I don't know what he's riding yet. He might be taking his Rocket 3, or he might be taking one of our used bikes, so we get to have a run and show off one of the used bikes. But that is going to be coming up this Sunday. If you happen to be about, we will catch you up at Super Sausage. If you want to ride out, drop me a DM and you can come and join us. So heading back to the garage, all good. One more bike to ride as soon as I get back in and have my cup of coffee. Another ride test. But this is the LXR Euro 5 125cc in black and gold for the customer, and 12.5 miles on the clock, and no issues found whatsoever. And even over the big bumps, it soaks it up. Suspension working absolutely perfect. So whatever you're doing today, have yourself a good one. Be well, ride safe, and as always from RB, it's a big goodbye from me.